I'd like to introduce Dr. Martin Dayton, founder of the Dayton Medical Center in Miami, US. Thank you for joining me, Martin.
Well, thank you for having me.
Could you tell me when you first heard about LDN?
Oh, it's been several years. Dr. Bahari was using it in New York, and I got quite interested in his work, and I started using it in my practice.
Mm-hmm. And what have you been using it for? What conditions?
I've been using it for immune conditions, from lymphoma to various forms of rheumatic arthritis. I could give you some stories if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Well, years ago I had a gentleman who I hadn't seen for several years who had developed lymphoma, and his family asked me to treat him. It was a bit unusual. The man moved out of the area, and he was in hospice, having failed the treatments of the day. I had to say, treat him. He doesn't want to come to the office. He doesn't want to take a bunch of pills, and he didn't want to spend much money. Please treat him. So the only thing I could think of was LDN. So I, for those criteria, that is. So I prescribed low-dose naltrexone. I think it was about 4 milligrams at the time. In his 80s, about 6 weeks later, he was out ballroom dancing from hospice. Quite remarkable. So that certainly caught my attention relative to the use of LDN. And I've been using it routinely since. I prescribed it yesterday. It's been very helpful, and it's been gratifying in cases such as dermatomyositis. A young lady, 10, who's having much pain, rashes, and the treatments that are available are immune suppressive, and it's loaded with potential side effects, especially for a young lady. So put her on LDN and some other things that were non-pharmaceutical. And all her pain went away. Her laboratory tests, which were quite out of line, came back to normal. And she's going to school and leading a relatively normal life. She's on LDN and plus some other supportive substances.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a wide range of patients. I give you another example of a lady who had a B-cell lymphoma. She had tumors all over her body, somewhat grotesque. However, she was able to work every day and lead a relatively normal life, excepting for the deformities. She had been at Mayo Clinic a few years before, and she checked to see what happened to the other people that she met there who had a like condition, and I think all of them had departed. So she came to me. We gave her some natural treatments and put her on LDN, and she was maintained only on LDN for a couple of years, and unfortunately she decided one day to stop the LDN. She wasn't a person of means and was a bit embarrassed to come to my office. She then came back to my office about 2 to 3 months later, this time in a wheelchair. It was obvious that her tumor had grown and it was affecting her spine, and she couldn't walk. So I sent her to the hospital, where she had radiation, had traumatic recovery, and then found new heroes, and never did start the LDN. Unfortunately, she died shortly thereafter.
Okay.
So I find that LDN is, although it may not be a cure, certainly is something that is great for maintenance. I find that it's almost devoid of side effects. The worst problems I had with people who had decided to take narcotics with it. Obviously, it doesn't work too well together. I understand there is a pill that may be on the market or is contemplated to have a little bit in it to prevent people from getting too high. But when people take LDN or narcotics, it negates the narcotics, so it doesn't cause any permanent damage, but they have some problems. So it's excellent for those patients who have pain associated with immunity and are not on on our narcotics. Patients with multiple sclerosis do very well with it. Quite surprisingly so, particularly when one considers the price of LDN, which is pennies a day. So it seems to be helpful for a broad spectrum of things that are immunologically associated, from cancer to autoimmune arthritis and neurological problems.
Well, as an MS sufferer myself who takes LDN, I'd like to thank you on behalf of everybody else who you're helping. It really is appreciated. And thank you very much for talking to me today.
Pleasure talking.